I brought back my 27-year-old girlfriend and our 6-year-old daughter from the place I had been stationed alone for work. Destiny, you're no longer needed. Sign the divorce papers and get out. Take our son with you, too.
Is that so? Have you already prepared the divorce papers?
Yeah, I'll put them in the mailbox tomorrow. I've already filled out my part, so I want you to submit them to the municipal office as soon as possible.
I see. Well, since you've gone to the trouble, I'll accept them. But I won't be submitting anything until I've confirmed that alimony and child support have been deposited into my account.
What? Huh?
What's the problem?
It's just, your response is unusually calm. I was expecting something more like panic or outrage.
Oh, is that what you were hoping for?
Well, I mean, normally I don't think anyone would be composed in this situation.
That's probably because I've known about your affair for quite some time.
What?
You've been having an affair during the 8 years you were stationed away, and you even had a child with the other woman, didn't you? At first, you were supposed to return after 3 years, but you kept finding excuses to extend your stay. In reality, it was because you had a child with her, wasn't it? You couldn't come back here because of that. And now, after all these years, you finally decided to return because as your child with her grew older, it became harder to keep it a secret. The timing coincided with our son Jake turning 18 and becoming an adult. Isn't that the truth?
You knew all of that? This is actually terrifying.
Oh, please. Do you know who first noticed your affair? It was Jake.
What?
It was around this time last year Jake was in Houston for a sports tournament.
Houston?
You understand what I'm saying, don't you? You and your mistress, along with your daughter, were also in Houston for a little family trip, weren't you? You played house, pretending to be one big happy family, didn't you? And Jake saw it with his own eyes. It's been almost a year since that incident, so Jake seems to have calmed down a bit, but I won't let you act as if you don't understand how traumatic this has been for him. I also know that right now you, your mistress, and your daughter are temporarily staying in a weekly rental apartment in the city. I'll be sending you a certified letter there. I've already contacted a lawyer, so you'd better prepare yourself.
Destiny, I received the certified letter.
The evidence of your affair was included too, wasn't it?
Yeah. I can't believe you managed to dig up so much information. But thanks to that, I've realized something important.
What would that be?
You seem to know an awful lot about my girlfriend and daughter.
Well, of course. Since I'm preparing for a divorce on the grounds of infidelity, I had to thoroughly gather evidence to prove your responsibility.
If you know that much, it means you hired a private investigator or something, right?
That's right. Given the distance to where you were stationed, it was the only practical option.
I knew it. In that case, the investigation fees you used will be deducted from the alimony I owe.
Excuse me?
The money you used for that must have come from what I earned through my work, right? As a stay-at-home wife, you don't have your own income. Since you used my money without permission, it's only fair that you pay me back.
I'm not a stay-at-home wife anymore, though.
What?
Right now, Jake is sitting next to me and reading your messages. He's saying, Dad really doesn't know anything, does he?
What's that supposed to mean?
You remember how Jake sent you a link to an online bookstore the other day?
Yeah, I remember. It was for some novel, right?
That novel is my source of income.
Wait, what? Jake sent me a message telling me to check the author's name, so I went to the online shopping page he mentioned. And there it was! The author's name was your old last name, Destiny!
When Jake entered middle school, I submitted a novel to a competition just for fun. To my surprise, it ended up winning an award. I decided to use my maiden name as a pen name to separate it from my real identity. It was a spur-of-the-moment decision, and I've just continued writing under that name ever since. Thought I'd told you about how it eventually brought in enough royalties to live comfortably. Did I not mention it before?
Wait, seriously?
I'm pretty sure I even handled all the paperwork about our tax and dependency status at the time. Did you forget?
What?
Anyway, that's the situation. So no, I'm not a full-time housewife. And just so you know, the cost of hiring the private investigator, I covered it entirely with my own money. There's no need for you to worry about that.
Oh, I see.
Also, the one who needs to move out of that house is not me, Samson. It's you.
What?
You seem to have forgotten, but this house originally belonged to my parents. When my father passed away 2 years ago, I inherited it. Did you forget about that too?
Now that you mention it, yeah, I remember. But you've got to be kidding me. I thought this house didn't have rent to worry about, so I could bring my girlfriend and daughter here. Where are we supposed to live now? Hey, Destiny! I can kind of understand the alimony. Both my girlfriend and I were already prepared to pay that, but what's the deal with child support?
What do you mean, what's the deal? It's child support for Jake, of course. You're responsible for paying it until he turns 21.
Wait a minute, the legal age of adulthood is 18 now, isn't it? Don't you know that?
Oh, is that what this is about? Of course I know.
Then I shouldn't have any obligation to pay child support anymore, should I?
Wrong.
What?
Child support is typically required until the child turns 21. The change in the age of adulthood to 18 doesn't affect that.
What?
Think about it. The age for drinking and smoking is still 21, right? It's the same principle.
Seriously?
If you're unsure, you can consult your lawyer. Oh, and another thing. I'm guessing you're just reaching out without properly reviewing the certified documents we sent yesterday. But let me remind you, I consulted a legal professional before making these claims for alimony and child support. The chances that we made any errors in the calculations or the claims themselves are extremely low. So instead of bombarding me with questions, maybe you should do your research first. Try to understand my perspective here. It's exhausting having to explain this every time.
Destiny, about Jake's child support. It's only for 2 years, right? Can't you cut me some slack?
What? If it's only 2 years, then pay up properly.
No, it's not like that. Look, I have a daughter now. She's gonna need a lot of money as she grows up.
Let me guess, you're saying you didn't prepare for Jake's child support because you wrongly assumed it wouldn't be required, right? And for the record, the child support isn't for me, it's for Jake. He said if my father can't even fulfill basic parental responsibilities, then I'll make sure to get what's due. So that's his stance on the matter.
What?
I respect Jake's decision on this.
But seriously, I'm strapped for cash and paying it all at once?
Figure it out yourself. I don't trust you.
At least let me pay in monthly installments. Come on.
It's time you stopped making excuses.
What?
If you have questions, ask your lawyer. If you have any requests, communicate them through your lawyer.
Destiny?
I'm not going to block you because of Jake, but as a general rule, I'd prefer all communication to go through my lawyer.
Wait, hold on.
Bye.
Destiny! Destiny, it's me, Samson. Your ex-husband, Samson?
Ugh.
I expected that reaction, but please, just hear me out. This is really important.
What do you want?
I got divorced.
Huh?
My wife, she left me. She just up and left, taken off without a second thought. Said she couldn't see a bright future for our marriage anymore. She even left our daughter behind with me.
Oh, I see. Let me guess. You dumped all the housework and childcare responsibilities on her, didn't you?
What? How did you...
Just a hunch. I figured you hadn't changed, and it looks like I was right.
Oh, man, I knew it. You're the only one who really understands me. Let's get married. You're still living in that house, right? I'll bring my daughter over tonight, and you could become her new mother.
I'm already remarried.
What?
Yes, my husband is a fellow novelist, someone my age. I've also moved out of that house. I live in his apartment now. As for the house you're referring to, Jake and his wife are the ones living there since they got married.
Jake got married? Why didn't anyone tell me?
Jake suggested I wait and surprise you with the news. He's right here next to me, actually.
What?
Jake and his wife are visiting me right now. When Jake heard about you still pestering me, he joked that it's better to come clean about my marriage. He thought keeping it a secret might backfire somehow.
What the hell?
Oh, and one more thing. Don't even think about reaching out to Jake for help. He doesn't see you as his father and would call the police on you in seconds.
The police?
Anyway, I think we're done here. You've said what you needed to say, right? Goodbye.
Wait, hold on. What am I supposed to do? How do I even raise a teenage daughter? I have no idea how to deal with her. Do you have any advice? She's in such a difficult phase right now, and the house, it's falling apart. I mean, it's a complete mess, and I don't know how to keep up with cleaning and everything. Destiny, please!
Samson's tendency to completely abandon household responsibilities, leaving them all on my shoulders, wasn't something that started after our divorce. It's something that happened consistently throughout our marriage. From the moment we said our vows, it became a pattern, one that would continue throughout our time together. There was never any real effort on his part to share the workload of housework or parenting. It was as if he had no concept of what it meant to be a partner in those respects, and I found myself doing everything. At the time, I thought it was just the way things were supposed to be. I tried to convince myself that I could handle it, but in reality, it drained me to my core. And looking back, it's hard to believe I allowed it to continue for as long as I did. I can still remember how I felt when it was finally decided that my ex-husband would be transferring to a new position on his own. The decision felt like both a relief and a burden being lifted all at once. It was like the weight of the world had been taken off my shoulders, and I was finally going to be free. I distinctly remember thinking, I'm finally going to be free of the big child that I've been living with for so long. It's almost embarrassing to admit that now, but at the time, that thought brought me a sense of clarity. It was the first time in years that I didn't feel as if I was carrying the weight of everything by myself. I felt like I could breathe again. That moment was so important to me because it was the breaking point, the realization that I could no longer continue on that path. I had been overwhelmed for so long, trying to juggle the demands of our marriage, the household, and the kids while feeling utterly alone. I had been living with a man who, no matter how much I gave, would never be able to contribute equally. His inability to understand or care about what I was going through was heartbreaking. The moment he left, I could finally breathe, but it also marked the beginning of the end of our relationship. Fast forward to after our divorce, when he eventually married the woman he had been having an affair with. It was no surprise to me. I had watched him carefully choose this woman during our marriage, and it was clear that he was emotionally invested in her long before we officially parted ways. It was almost as though he was more interested in his own desires than in the well-being of his family. I remember feeling betrayed, not just because of the affair, but because I had invested so much in our relationship, only to see him repeat the same mistakes. It was as if the divorce was just the beginning of a cycle he was doomed to repeat. And as expected, after they married, the same pattern unfolded. Samson once again threw all the household responsibilities onto his new wife, leaving her to handle everything while he continued to live a life of convenience and neglect. It was as though nothing had changed. He had simply moved on from one woman to the next. But the habits he had developed during our marriage had not disappeared. Once again, she found herself doing everything while he sat idly by, as if the burden of daily life was hers to bear. The fact that he could so easily fall back into these old habits made me realize just how little he had learned from the past. It was as if he hadn't taken any of the lessons from our marriage to heart, and it didn't take long before the relationship broke down just as our own had. It was heartbreaking to watch, and now after everything, I couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication. The path he had chosen, the one he had walked so easily, had led him right back to the same place, another divorce, another failed relationship. It was as though he couldn't escape the consequences of his actions, no matter how hard he tried. His inability to grow, to learn from his mistakes, had led him down this very predictable road. And it was almost as if I could see it happening before it even began. Now my ex-husband finds himself in a place where he is completely stuck. He has no idea how to navigate the challenges of life, especially when it comes to his daughter. He's clueless when it comes to raising her, interacting with her, or even understanding the basics of parenting. It's as if he's utterly inequipped for the responsibility, and that's probably the saddest part of all. I had hoped after our divorce that he would step up, that he would realize the importance of being a father, but it seems like he only has grown more disconnected from that role. His relationship with his daughter is strained at best. He doesn't know how to talk to her, how to relate to her, or even how to be there for her when she needs him most. In fact, his daughter's relationship with him has become so fractured that she eventually found herself in a position where she felt compelled to reach out to Child Protective Services. The home he's provided for her has become so unbearable that she had no other choice but to seek help. She could no longer live in a house where neglect was the norm. The stench of the house, the mess, the lack of care, everything about it drove her to seek a way out. Can you imagine being a child in that situation? Feeling that your only option is to go to strangers for help because your own parent can't provide a safe, clean, or nurturing environment? It's heartbreaking, and it speaks volumes about the kind of person Samson has become. But this is where the story takes another turn. Not only is his personal life in shambles, but his professional life has also taken a major hit. He's been removed from the fast track to promotion at work. Once a promising employee, his career is now stagnating. It's almost poetic in a way. His inability to commit, his selfishness, and his lack of accountability have all caught up with him. He betrayed people along the way, and now he's paying the price for it. His lack of effort, both at home and at work, has led him to a point of no return. It's a harsh reminder that actions have consequences, and those consequences can follow you in every part of your life. I can't help but feel a certain sense of validation when I think about all that's happened. It's not like I take pleasure in his downfall, but rather that I've been able to see firsthand how life is a way of delivering consequences. We all make choices, and sometimes those choices come back to hurt us. For Samson, the choices he made, time and time again, have led him to a place of misery and regret. It's a stark reminder that happiness doesn't come from avoiding responsibility or taking the easy way out. At the same time, I can't help but feel a sense of sadness for his daughter. She didn't ask for this. She didn't ask for a father who couldn't care for her, who neglected her emotional needs, and who failed to provide the basics of a stable home. The life she's had to endure is something no child should have to go through. Think about her future, and I worry. Will she be able to overcome the damage that's been done? Will she be able to find a way to move forward, or will she carry the scars of her childhood with her into adulthood? It's a question that haunts me, and I wonder if she will ever truly escape the shadow of her father's neglect. For me, the years of exhaustion, of carrying everything on my own, are behind me. I've moved on, and I've learned so much along the way. I've learned the importance of setting boundaries, of not allowing someone else to shoulder all the responsibility while I bear the weight of everything. I've learned about the importance of recognizing my worth and not settling for anything less than the respect and care I deserve. And while my life isn't perfect, it's mine. I've built a life that is my own, free from the burden of someone else's irresponsibility. As for Samson, he's stuck in the mess he created for himself. He's unable to break free from the patterns that have held him captive for so long. He's trapped in a cycle of poor decisions, unable to see a way out. And as I reflect on his situation, I realize that it's a cautionary tale. It's a story of what happens when we fail to take responsibility for our actions, when we prioritize our own desires over the needs of others, and when we refuse to grow. His life is a reflection of everything he chose, and the consequences have been devastating. He may never fully realize the depth of his mistakes, but his story will always serve as a reminder of the importance of accountability. Looking back at who I was during our marriage, tired, frustrated, and desperate for a change, I realize just how far I've come. I'm no longer the person who quietly suffered under the weight of someone else's neglect. I've claimed my sense of self, and I have found peace in knowing that I am in control of my own life now. Samson's story may be one of failure, but it's also a story of lessons learned, and those lessons will stay with me as I continue to move forward. Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought of the story. We look forward to seeing you at the next story.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button. See you next time.